What's going on, guys? Alright, this is part two of my kind of assessment of the Todd Begg Bodega. Got to ship this back out tomorrow to Jason, so I wanted to get this done and finish up my thoughts on this knife. Really, the question comes up whether or not this Bodega is worth $850. I've encountered and talked with a number of people where they feel like it's not worth it because they'll tell me it's not worth it because Todd Begg doesn't hand ground the blade himself, or he doesn't mill out the stuff on the titanium himself. Everything is done by machine and all that kind of stuff. And so at $850, even up to $1,050 depending on the materials here, the question is whether or not it's worth it. Let me say this first before I forget. There's one thing I wish that Todd Begg would I kind of wish he would do, but I understand why he wouldn't. The main thing is due to aesthetics. When you look at some of these other knives that I own, for example, let's just use the Kirby Lambert here. This has titanium bolsters with lightning strike carbon fiber. The only way that these scales are affixed to the blade is by these screws. That screw into the titanium frame, if you will. These are pretty thick slabs of titanium that serves as the liner lock on here. So on both sides, underneath this pocket clip, you've got these screws and all that kind of stuff. So some people would think that detracts from the overall look of the knife. And I would agree in the sense that if there was a way to affix this scale on here without using any of the screws, that would be a cool option. Especially, I mean, for this knife, I would never anticipate changing out any of these scales. Even though Kirby Lambert's got so many different designs, he's used so many different kinds of materials, for the bolsters and whatnot. So they're not that they're interchangeable, but I mean, for me, I love this look. I would never change this lightning strike carbon fiber and this titanium bolster. But I've seen G10 with carbon fiber and blah blah blah, all that kind of stuff. So anyway, for this, I was like, there's so many different options. Man, what if I could get lightning strike sides here, so then I can just add it on there, and then if I feel like putting my card on one day, then I can just put the micarta. So similar to like the hinder here, I can change out this. I have the titanium liner, and I have orange and OD green and a black scale. I'd want to get a carbon fiber scale as well. I have all these different options to change out, just the overall look on this hinder, and that's really kind of a cool feature, of these hinders. Nowadays, like Modifieds, he's got that service where you can anodize anything. You can anodize the pocket clips, and he tricks out his hinders so much, and it just adds a lot to the aesthetics of the knife. Some people like the plain Jane. I love the plain Jane, but sometimes when you just feel like having a different look, maybe it's a pretty cool option to have out there. So anyway, going back to kind of the subject matter of this video, is this knife worth the price? I'm gonna just start off first by saying yes, and here's some of my reasoning. On this 6 side, or yeah, let's see, these 6 and this one right here, this Burnley, these are full out custom knives. These from ground up, from the very first scale that they make, to the pocket clip, to the blade, milling the blade on the machines, and the liner locks and whatever, pocket clips, everything they're doing is from the ground up, and they are pouring their blood and sweat into each and every knife that they make. And there's something to be said about that, when a knife maker is putting that much energy and time into a knife, that says a lot about I guess gives the knife a lot of personality and all that kind of stuff. So it's really cool to think that, yeah, somebody spent all this time and energy on this knife. So, it's worth that money for me. In these production knives, even like a Spyderco Military, you think, okay, somebody programmed this, knife design, or this is a knife design that's been, so it's so old. I mean, this is from what, the 90s or even before that, I don't know. And it's, built in this big factory in Golden, Colorado, or in Taiwan, or in China, or in Seki City, Japan, and they just ship it over in these bulk packages and all that kind of stuff, and so I can get them for relatively cheap and all that kind of stuff, and maybe it seems like it's worth it, for a production level. You get some pretty high quality materials, but outside of putting the knife together by some random stranger in Japan, there's really no heart and soul that goes into these knives. I think people at Spyderco would probably beg to differ and all that kind of stuff, but yeah. Anyway, even you get like Emerson's, you get the tradition of Emerson, Ernie Emerson, all that kind of stuff, but I don't think Ernie Emerson ever, handled this combat karambit and, tested it out to see, if there's any issues with it or whatnot. So you just get the tradition of, Emerson. You get the name of Ernie Emerson and all that kind of stuff. But with these high-end productions, you've got essentially one person, who's designed all these knives. You got Mick Strider and Dwayne Dwyer for Strider. You've got Chris Reeve at CRK. You've got Rick Hinder at Rick Hinder Knives, that have made, all these knives. So there's a lot of, stuff, they've got, people doing marketing and all that kind of stuff, but for the most part, they're the ones that design these knives. They're the ones that put all the stuff together and figure these knives out, and then had people, I guess, figure out the programming on how to produce these knives. But obviously outside of CRK, and Strider, well, okay, so these two knives, obviously you can find them anywhere. You can get them on secondary markets. You can get them, they're pretty much always available. So what you see is what you get. With the Hinders, I don't know what the new production 24s or whatever, I'm not quite clear about what all that's about, but it's harder to come by with these Hinders. It doesn't seem like, maybe their shop in Ohio's not as big, so they're not able to produce as many knives and all that kind of stuff. So there is a rare factor, with Hinders that marks up the prices and all that kind of stuff in the secondary market. But everything is still done in shop at Hinder. And then from what I understand, they've got people that help to put all the knives together and blah blah blah. All right, so then you get into Midtex, which for the VCP right here, Les, I believe he outsources his blades out to someone else, and then they grind the blades for him at a more efficient rate. Ship them back, I guess whether it's like water jet or whatever, and then ship it back, and then Les George himself puts everything together. So he pieces everything together, which that's what I understand is to be a mid-tech knife. When the actual custom maker is the one that's putting everything together. So when you get a production Strider SNG, that's at what, $400 some dollars, or I think just $400. Not, this is a CC version, but versus one that's got MSC on it or DDC, so Dwayne Dwyer Custom or Mick Strider Custom, then you're hiking, the price is double, triple, probably triple that of a production Strider. So even though they're put together by people, for a Mick Strider or Dwayne Dwyer, they're the ones that are grinding the blades, hand grinding. They're doing all the stuff on the titanium or machining the titanium, and they're the ones that's fitting everything together themselves. You got custom Hinders on occasion. Chris Reeve, I haven't seen anything that's like custom Chris Reeve. So everything I believe is done by machine and done by just, employees at Chris Reeve. And so anyway, and then yeah, so like Les George, everything is being put together by himself, and so now you get into the bodega, and for Todd Begg, I believe that I don't think he outsources anything, for these parts, but I think that everything is CNC machined. So when you think about like all the work, and if you ever have a chance to watch John Grimsmo's work in progress videos for his Norseman, just an awesome looking knife, and I wish one of these days I'll get a chance to get my hands on one of those knives. From the ground up, they got that Tormac machine, and part of it's advertising for Tormac and all that kind of stuff, which is totally fine. But they had to learn how to use this machine. They had to learn how to program this machine and use these computer programs to design the knife so that you can input all that data into this Tormac machine. I don't know if people had this misconception to think that you just throw a piece of metal into that machine and then out pops a knife. I mean, it doesn't work that way. You have to make all these precision adjustments, not just to your program, but to the actual machine itself. You have to build all these different jigs and pieces and vices and things that hold all the pieces together and screw them down and all that kind of stuff. So even though you're able to cut out, maybe 5, 10 blades or scales at a time, all that front end work, so even though like, I can order a knife now from John Grimsmo, and maybe right now it doesn't take him that long, so like Todd Begg, I think the turnaround time is about 3 to 4 weeks, maybe 4 weeks tops, so less than a month to get one of these amazing knives out. But when I think about all the front end work, and if you check out the link from the other review, I guess I'll just link it on this one too. When you look at all the front end work that had to go into creating this knife, I mean, there are countless hours and days, maybe even weeks, that are spent in trying to figure out what this knife is going to look like and how everything's going to piece together, and then countless hours after that fitting, like not just fitting these pieces together, when it's done, but making sure that they fit coming off the machine, so lots of material that they're, burning through and wasting, and, things that just aren't going to work. If these spacers are off by a millimeter, then, it's going to be way off, and it's unusable. You can't use that. So everything's got to be precisionally pressed and fitted and all that kind of stuff on the machine itself in order for it to all come together into, something that's as perfect as this. I mean, you look at, perfect centering, like big deal, like Spider can do that and all that kind of stuff too. But just, for everything that's going into this knife, and then eventually I'm assuming, everything being hand, put together by Todd Begg himself, that it says a lot about this knife. It definitely says a lot about custom knife makers, and again, all the hours that they spend on each and every knife. But I think the same is true for almost like every intuitive and ingenious product that we use today, cars or bikes or whatever it is. You're paying for a lot of that front end work, like research work that went into it beforehand. I was talking to one of my pharmaceutical friends. It's like these pills that we pay like hundreds of dollars for. If you don't have insurance, it probably costs them like less than $1 to produce these things, or to have these press this pill together, and you see them go on the line and just kind of get shuffled in and all that kind of stuff, and it costs them nothing to make, but there's millions and maybe billions of dollars that's put into research and patents and running it through FDA and all that kind of stuff. And so there's a lot of that front end work and time and energy that was put into it that demands, that kind of price premium and all that kind of stuff. So you could almost argue, granted, it's going to be harder for, someone like Julius Shoup to, or Stephen Kelly to come up with, to build these knives, in their busy time or busy life and all that kind of stuff. And, Todd Begg right now can put these in a program and, whip out all these different templates of all these things and just, everything's precise right now. And, 2-3 weeks or whatever, there's that turnaround, they can put it all together. But you're paying for all the time before that. So anyway, I'm kind of just like rambling on now, but I think you guys get the point. So even though these customs, everything is hand ground and all that kind of stuff, and there's a lot of hours put in, comparatively to all the hours that are put into forming like a special jig every single time for these pieces, I think to me it makes a lot of sense. I think gradually the price, it might go down, once production, continues to rise and all that kind of stuff, the price may go down, but also you're paying for a lot of premium materials and all that kind of stuff. So to me, I can almost justify, that $850 price point, that's more expensive than a lot of great custom work. It's more expensive than Kirby Lambert, the Stephen Kelly, the Shoup, the Dalibert, the Freed. Probably even more expensive than the Burnley and all that kind of stuff. So I don't know. When I say that now, I'm kind of like, man, like, is it worth more? Like, I don't know, But again, all that front end work and all the precision, all that kind of stuff. I don't know. It demands a price. So anyway, those are some of my thoughts in terms of justifying the price point for the Bodega. You guys might completely disagree, and I can understand that. So just leave your comments down below. I've been doing a lot of reviews today, so I'm tired. And anyway, leave your comments down below. Let me know what you guys think. Really, yeah, I would love to get your take on what you guys feel about the mid-tex and full-on customs and that kind of stuff in terms of their values. All right, guys. You guys take care, and I'll see you guys in the next vid. Bye.